Meanwhile, talking more broadly speaking about what's happening in the economy, women make up 47% of the Canadian workforce, but in high-tech related industries, the percentage is about half that. Move up the ladder to leadership roles in tech, and our next guest says women are not getting the opportunities they deserve, and our tech industries suffer as a result. She's aiming to change that with a conference she's organizing called Moving the Dial. Jodi Kovitz is the CEO of AceTech Ontario, and she joins us here in studio. Jodi, good morning.
Good morning, John.
You know, this is a really important time for the tech industry, especially with low growth in countries like Canada and the U.S. Amazon today talking about all the jobs it's creating south of the border. Canadian companies like Shopify growing at a rapid clip, furthering to partner with with Amazon. And yet when you look at the picture and the work that you've done, what does the employment picture truly look like, men and women?
That's a great question, John. In Canada, we really are seeing much lower numbers of women in tech, in both leadership roles and in founding roles in scaling up companies. And really, this is about them not having the same opportunities for connection and network as men have had historically in this industry.
And some say this goes down to preschool level, and there seems to be this emphasis on STEM, science, technology. Help me out. E&M. I can't remember what
engineering and
math.
Engineering and math.
Yes. There you go.
Yes, exactly.
So memory, obviously, is not one of my things. But is that really the case? Because, you know, when you look at graduation levels, undergrad graduation levels, I mean, there are more women graduating from post-secondary education than men. But in those sectors, STEM, is that the case?
Amber, that's a great question. I think the issue is twofold. So that is one side of the equation. And I actually have a 7-year-old daughter who's taking after-school coding. And I think we're actually doing lots in Canada to create more opportunities to inspire excitement for women to pursue those jobs later in life. That is happening. Canada Learning Code, for example, has an incredible new initiative underway. And that is going to create opportunities for our children in 10 to 15 years to make up naturally a larger percentage of the graduating class that go into tech opportunities and stay in tech. However, right now is where we actually need to do more work to come together as a community to together advance all of the incredible initiatives that are going on.
Role models and having role models is an important step. And I actually, I did a conversation with Ilse Turnick, who's the head of Mars, a great role model in tech. You know, and she's a woman, so that's just an extra bonus there. And I talked about the Marissa Mayer effect and whether that is somebody that, you know, can be a role model, especially with how she balances work-life balance. And somebody actually pointed out that actually maybe she's not such a great role model because, you know, she had children, she had twins, and then I think less than a week or 3 weeks, she was back at work. And she cautioned that women shouldn't have to do that in order to advance in tech. Is that part of your conversation about how to structure the roles so that they work for women's needs?
100%. And part of what we're doing with our kickoff event, which is Monday night, it's really just the beginning of what we hope will really be a movement, is to bring women who are succeeding in many different ways to one panel conversation. So we have some younger founders who are starting and probably working at that pace. We also have a woman on the panel, actually, who's a friend of mine, Candace, who has a portfolio of things that she does. And there's, you know, investors that have wear many different hats: mom, advisor, nonprofit board chairs, have been founders, and do this in many different ways to enable women to participate in a meaningful way in what has historically been a much more male-dominated ecosystem.
So as you know, we talked earlier about moving up the ladder, the fact that A, there is this issue of how many women are in the workforce to begin with in tech, and B, who's in a leadership position. And obviously in the United States, people like Sheryl Sandberg have spoken out about this for a very long time. Do you think, as you're looking at the environment right now, and certainly at your event, there are going to be a lot of female leaders of startups, growing companies right now, that leadership changes as more of these younger companies grow, or sort of this ecosystem, if you will, of startups mature and are led by women? Or is it more likely that the broader tech industry itself is going to come to the realization that we have to have more women in these larger companies in leadership roles?
I think that it's a little bit of both, John.
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that's so key is that people don't realize it's not always big actions. Yes, we can have events, which we will. Yes, we're going to measure what's happening, state of the nation, and train women to go into media and be on boards. But it's also the little actions of making connections between people that put women who are excellent talent in front of the men who might be deciding, or the women. It's little steps. We actually have the women talent. We have incredible, strong female executives and up-and-coming talent. In fact, I mentor a young woman engineer. She's remarkable, but she needs to be sponsored, as we were talking about earlier, not just mentored, championed. And the championing means bringing her to C-level meetings, giving her the opportunity to come to the VIP receptions where there's C-level executives. That's part of what we're trying to accomplish. We actually invited lots of young women to participate so they meet the male founders so that they can be hired, put on advisory boards, taught how to do it, meet the connections. That's really about connecting.
Failure to diversify was an accusation that was strongly leveled at Canada's banking sector, and they really do seem to be taking a lot more steps to address that. So if change starts kind of at home, as it were, with these companies, what has been their response, their involvement? I think in the US we had some high-profile announcement. Was it Google or Apple or Facebook? One of them committing to have X% diversity over the next couple of years. Maybe a lot of them came out. Are you seeing similar things in Canada?
Hugely, and it really is not only the corporations, but the individuals leading the corporation. So for example, evidence of that is that within 1 week, we had 600 people register to come to this event, 2 weeks. The head of Google Canada, who is a woman leader, is coming. Scaling hot, founders that are men are coming and bringing their women, and they signed up to sponsor before there was an event. So it's just evidence of they care, they're putting their feet behind what they're saying.
And this might be hard to have a definitive answer on this, but certainly right now there is this push to try to bring a lot of Canadian talent that maybe went to Silicon Valley back to Canada. The federal government is making a big push on that as well. If a lot of this tech ecosystem can highlight the opportunities for women founders or who are working in these companies, if there's a lot of evidence of that, do you think that bodes well for bringing a lot of talent from outside the country, maybe expats coming home?
Absolutely, and this is actually a great question around why the Mayor of Toronto really cares deeply about this issue. If we put the best talent forward, the best talent, men, women, everybody, together, and we have the strongest ecosystem, and that is a story we can sell to bring our talent home, and to be the, it's a clear business case that a diverse talent pool is the best talent pool.
Interesting stuff. Jodi, thanks for the time. We appreciate it. It's Jodi Kovitz, the CEO of AceTech Ontario and the organizer of the Moving the Dial event.